Most gardeners spend their whole summer losing to weeds, losing to pests, losing to soil that refuses to cooperate. What if the single change that fixes all three of those problems is sitting right in your backyard, waiting to be built? Raised garden beds are not a trend. They are the most reliable upgrade a home gardener can make, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to build one, fill it, grow in it, and keep it producing season after season. This is Adam Grove. Welcome to Backyard Crops, where we grow smarter, not harder. If this channel is new to you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. New episodes drop every week with practical, tested gardening knowledge you can actually use in your backyard. Smash the like button if you want more content like this, and drop a comment below telling us. Do you already have a raised bed, or is this your first one? We read every single comment. Why raised beds change everything. Let's start with the honest truth. The ground beneath your yard is probably not on your side. Compacted clay, rocky subsoil, drainage problems, nutrient-starved dirt. These are conditions that fight your plants from the moment a seed goes in. Raised garden beds sidestep all of that entirely. You are essentially building a custom growing environment from scratch, one that you completely control, and the benefits go far beyond just escaping bad soil. Benefit no. 1. Location freedom. A raised bed can go nearly anywhere that gets sunlight. Concrete patio works. Gravel driveway edge works. Uneven slope in the backyard. Build the bed level and you're set. The physical form of the bed, its height, length, width, and shape, can be adjusted to fit almost any space. There are no rules about where a raised bed has to go, as long as it gets the light and water it needs. Benefit no. 2. Fewer weeds. Less frustration. This is the one that most gardeners care about most. When a raised bed is properly lined at the base, weed seeds from underground cannot push through. And because the soil inside a raised bed is kept loose and aerated, any weed seeds that do blow in from above can be pulled out quickly and cleanly before they take hold. Compare that to fighting a crabgrass invasion in compacted ground. There is no comparison. Benefit no. 3. Full soil control. Raised beds give complete control over what your plants grow in. Purchased or custom-blended soil, amended with compost and drainage materials, creates a root environment that native ground simply cannot match. Plants in well-built raised beds grow noticeably faster, yield more, and experience fewer stress-related problems. Benefit no. 4. Better accessibility. Gardening is physically demanding. Bending, crouching, kneeling. These are hard on the body, especially over a full growing season. A raised bed at the right height allows gardeners to work comfortably without straining joints and muscles. For anyone managing mobility challenges, taller raised bed can make the difference between gardening being possible or not. Benefit no. 5. Extended growing season. Here is something that many new gardeners do not know. Raised beds warm up significantly faster in spring than ground soil does. Because the mass of soil in a raised bed is exposed on the sides, heat from the sun penetrates quickly. This means planting can begin 2 to 4 weeks earlier than it could in the ground. In fall, the same thermal mass holds warmth longer, extending the harvest window on the other end. Over a full year, raised bed gardener gets measurably more growing time. Benefit no. 6. Reduced soil compaction in a traditional in-ground garden. Foot traffic compacts soil and collapses the pore spaces that roots need for oxygen and moisture movement. In a raised bed, gardeners never step inside the growing area. All work is done from outside the frame. The soil stays loose and structured season after season with minimal effort to maintain it. Building the bed, step by step. Now the practical part. Here is exactly how to build a raised garden bed from scratch. No. 1. Choose the right location. Before anything is purchased or built, walk the yard and identify where sunlight falls most consistently. Most vegetables and herbs need a minimum of 6 to 8 hours of direct sun per day. Morning sun is preferable to afternoon sun for most crops because it dries dew off leaves, reducing disease risk. Proximity to a water source matters significantly. A raised bed that requires carrying cans of water from a distant tap will eventually get underwatered. Place the bed where a hose can reach easily, or plan from the start for a drip irrigation connection. Avoid low-lying spots where water collects after rain. Standing water around the base of a raised bed can saturate the soil from below, defeating the drainage advantage the bed is meant to provide. Slightly elevated ground or a slope that sheds water is ideal. No. 2. Size the bed correctly. Width is the single most important dimension of a raised bed. The standard recommendation is 3 to 4 feet wide. This allows a person to comfortably reach the center of the bed from either side without stepping inside. Going wider than 4 feet turns maintenance into an awkward stretch that usually results in stepping into the bed and compacting the soil. Length is more flexible. 6 to 8 feet is a practical range for most backyard setups, but the bed can be extended as long as the available space allows. What does not scale well is width. Keep that at 4 feet regardless of how long the bed runs. Depth is equally important. A minimum of 8 inches of soil depth is needed for most vegetables and herbs. 12 inches is better for root crops like carrots and beets. Deeper beds also retain moisture more consistently, reducing how often watering is needed. For beds built with legs above the ground, 12 to 24 inches of depth makes working even more ergonomically comfortable. No. 3. Select frame materials. Wood is the most accessible and beginner-friendly material for building raised bed frames. It is easy to cut, easy to assemble, and relatively affordable at most lumber yards and hardware stores. Within the category of wood, the choice comes down to how long it needs to last versus how much is reasonable to spend. Hardwoods, oak, teak, black locust, cedar, and redwood resist rot far better than softwoods and will last 8 to 15 years or more before needing replacement. Softwoods like pine are cheaper and widely available, but will break down faster, typically within 3 to 6 years depending on moisture exposure. Cedar and black locust deserve particular mention. Both are naturally rot-resistant without any chemical treatment and are excellent choices for beds that will be growing food. One material to avoid entirely is pressure-treated lumber. Older pressure-treated wood was preserved using arsenic compounds that leach into surrounding soil. Newer formulations use copper-based chemicals, which are less acutely toxic but still not ideal for a growing environment where the goal is clean, uncontaminated food. The small cost savings are not worth the uncertainty. Beyond wood, options include corten weathering steel, which develops a rust patina protective layer and lasts decades, natural stone or brick stacked into low walls, and galvanized or powder-coated steel panels designed specifically for raised beds. Each material has trade-offs in cost, permanence, and aesthetics. 4. Line the base. Whether to line the bottom of a raised bed depends on what is underneath it. If the bed is sitting on reasonably healthy ground, no liner is strictly necessary. Earthworms and beneficial organisms will migrate up through the base and contribute to soil health. If the ground below is contaminated, heavily compacted, or overrun with persistent perennial weeds like bindweed or Bermuda grass, liner is worthwhile. A layer of overlapping cardboard works well and is biodegradable. It will suppress weeds for 1 to 2 seasons before breaking down and allowing roots to penetrate deeper over time. Weed barrier landscape fabric is a longer-lasting option, but should be water-permeable so drainage is not blocked. For beds with legs that lift the structure off the ground entirely, solid base covered with landscape fabric is standard. Keeping growing media contained with the right soil blend. This step makes or breaks the entire investment. Filling a raised bed with low-quality fill dirt or straight garden soil from a bag creates a dense, waterlogged, unproductive environment that is not much better than the ground. The ideal raised bed fill is a blend of roughly 60% topsoil, 30% compost, and 10% aeration amendments such as perlite or coarse sand. This creates a growing medium that is rich in organic matter and nutrients from the compost, structurally stable from the topsoil base, fast draining and oxygenated from the perlite or sand. Perlite, the small white volcanic glass particles found in many potting mixes, is especially useful for preventing compaction and waterlogging in raised beds. It does not break down over time the way organic amendments do, so it continues providing drainage benefit season after season. Fill the bed to about 1 inch below the top of the frame. This small gap prevents soil from washing over the edge during heavy rain and gives room for a layer of mulch on top. A note on commercially sold, raised bed mixes. Quality varies enormously between brands. Read the ingredients before buying. A good mix should list multiple compost sources, topsoil or loamy material, and a drainage amendment. Avoid mixes that are mostly peat moss with minimal compost. These dry out quickly, shed water when dry, and are nutrient poor. If you're finding this useful, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more gardeners find this content. Share this video with someone who has been thinking about starting a garden. And subscribe to Backyard Crops for more practical growing knowledge every week. What to grow? Nearly anything grown in a traditional garden bed will grow in a raised bed, often better. But certain crops are particularly well matched to the raised bed environment. Shallow-rooted crops like lettuce, spinach, arugula, and other salad greens thrive in raised beds and can be succession planted every 2 to 3 weeks for a continuous harvest. Radishes mature in as little as 3 weeks and are excellent for filling gaps between slower growing plants. Root vegetables, including carrots, beets, turnips, and parsnips, benefit enormously from the loose, deep, rock-free soil of a well-built raised bed. These crops frequently produce misshapen or stunted roots in compacted native soil. In a raised bed, they grow straight and full. Tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, and cucumbers all perform well with the warm soil temperatures and excellent drainage a raised bed provides. Tomatoes in particular benefit from the ability to deeply work compost and organic fertilizer into the soil before planting each season. Herbs, basil, thyme, rosemary, oregano, parsley, chives are excellent raised bed companions for vegetables. They require less space than most vegetables, and many of them deter pest insects through scent. Strawberries deserve a mention as a perennial option. Planted once in a raised bed, they spread and produce reliably for 3 to 5 years with minimal maintenance. One practice worth building into the growing plan from the beginning: crop rotation. Moving plant families to different sections of the bed each year prevents disease organisms and pests that target specific plant families from building up in the soil. A simple 4-section rotation: nightshades, brassicas, roots, legumes applied over 4 growing seasons dramatically reduces common soil-borne disease problems. Caring for the bed: ongoing maintenance. No. 6. Watering properly. Raised beds drain well, which is a benefit, but it also means they dry out faster than ground soil, especially during summer heat. Consistent, deep watering is more effective than frequent shallow watering. Deep watering encourages roots to grow downward, where soil moisture is more stable, rather than staying near the surface where drying and temperature swings are more extreme. A simple soil moisture check, pushing a finger 2 inches into the soil, is more reliable than any fixed watering schedule. Water when the soil at that depth feels dry. In hot, dry weather, this may mean watering every day. In cool, cloudy weather, it may mean watering every 3 or 4 days. Drip irrigation installed before the bed is planted is one of the highest return investments raised bed gardener can make. It delivers water directly to the root zone, keeps foliage dry, reducing fungal disease, and can be automated for consistent moisture without daily attention. No. 7. Mulching. A 2 to 3 inch layer of organic mulch, straw, shredded leaves, wood chips, or compost, spread across the surface of the soil after planting does several important things simultaneously. It suppresses weed seeds that blow in, retains soil moisture by reducing surface evaporation, moderates soil temperature in both heat and cold, and gradually breaks down to add organic matter to the soil below. Mulching is one of the simplest, highest-impact maintenance steps in raised bed gardening. No. 8. Fertilizing, even rich. Well-amended soil loses nutrients over the course of a growing season. Heavy-feeding crops like tomatoes, corn, and squash can deplete nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium noticeably by midsummer. Organic fertilizers, compost, fish emulsion, worm castings, kelp meal, replenish nutrients gradually without the risk of burning roots that concentrated synthetic fertilizers carry. Adding a 2 to 3 inch layer of finished compost to the top of the bed at the beginning of each growing season and again at the end is the simplest and most effective fertility management strategy. Annual soil testing, available from most cooperative extension offices and many garden centers, removes the guesswork and shows exactly which nutrients need attention. No. 9. Pruning and thinning. Overcrowding is one of the most common problems in raised bed gardens, especially for first-time growers who are understandably reluctant to pull up seedlings they just planted. But overcrowded plants compete for light, water, nutrients, and airflow. Poor airflow in particular creates conditions that favor fungal diseases like powdery mildew, botrytis, and early blight. Thinning seedlings to their recommended spacing, even when it feels wasteful, consistently produces better yields than leaving plants crowded. Regular pruning of lower foliage on tomatoes and other tall crops improves airflow around the base of the plant and reduces soil splash. One of the primary ways fungal spores move from soil to plant tissue. No. 10. Bed maintenance. Inspect the physical structure of the bed at least twice a year, at the start of spring and at the end of fall. Wood frames will eventually show signs of rot, particularly at corners and along the bottom board where moisture contact is highest. Replacing a single rotted board when it is first noticed is far easier than rebuilding collapsed frame mid-season. Check fasteners for looseness and joints for separation. If a galvanized steel or corten frame is used, check for sharp edges or damaged coatings that could cause injury during routine use. Each fall, top off the bed with fresh compost to replace the volume that settled and decomposed over the season. Over time, consistent topping with compost builds an increasingly productive growing medium that improves every year. A raised garden bed is not just a structure in the yard. It is a commitment to growing conditions that are under control, soil that performs, drainage that works, weeds that stay manageable, and plants that have everything they need from the day they go in the ground. The initial investment in materials and time pays back through every growing season that follows. Build it right the first time, fill it with quality soil, maintain it consistently. The results will speak for themselves. This is Adam Grove for Backyard Crops. If this video helped, subscribe so the next one lands in your feed automatically. Leave a comment below with the first crop you plan to grow in your raised bed. That answer tells a lot about what kind of gardener someone is. And the community here always has good advice. Share this video with someone who has been putting off building their first raised bed. Sometimes one good video is all it takes to get started. See you in the next one. Keep growing.